If I had a coach like that, I'd get rid of him immediately. If I had $10 billion and I bought an NFL team, I want a coach that wants a quarterback that can handle things at the line of scrimmage.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mack, John McMullen. Give us follows on X at Zander Krause and at JF McMullen for Johnny Mack. The Birds are 2-0, everybody. They win 20-17 yesterday, and a lot of conversation happening about the passing game, Kevin Patullo, and everything that's happening there. Almost feels like deja vu. We talked about it all year last year as well, and the Eagles were able to run their way to a Super Bowl victory last year. We'll see if they're able to do the same this year. John, I do want you to give your thought on it. And I know we've talked about it, but I want to specifically talk about Kevin Patullo. And I want you to answer what you think of him and where he is as a play caller. He's a first-year play caller. You know, I know he's been in the organization through everybody, but it is his first time calling plays. That comes with a different learning curve. I don't care if you're a passing game coordinator for 3 years here or you've been in the organization. There's a different learning curve when you become the play caller. How much of where are you on Kevin Patullo? Because everybody's sounding the alarm. I think we've made very clear we're not sounding.
Oh boy, sound the alarm. I think it looks very familiar to last year. I think this offense is this offense. I've said it pretty consistently. You're not going to see a lot of hot routes. People are obsessed with how. Why is everyone so upset? Why is this a surprise that the Eagles don't make side adjustments and turn it on? All they do is successful. And I said this coming into the Super Bowl, just run the go route. They did it and got the big play with Devontae. For whatever reason, they're not good at it. You can blame whoever you want. If you want to blame the offensive coordinator, you got to go back to Nick and Shane and Brian and Kellen because it always looked the same. It always ends up to that. That's why I lean towards the quarterback more. But that's an indictable offense in this city at times. They're just not good at it. There's a lot of things they're good at. That's not one of the things they're good at. So they don't do it a lot. And for all the people that blame,
getting better at the line of scrimmage. Like what? Why is he not improving at that? If you think more like most of that is on the quarterback.
I think there's levels to playing the position, which I pointed to Tom Brady last week, and I'll point to him again. Like go watch. You have NFL Game Pass. Go watch old Phillip Rivers games in Indianapolis. Hot routes all over the place. Side adjustments all over the place. You got a quarterback who can do it. There aren't a lot of quarterbacks who can do it. Again, you can go back to really the most simplified offense, which you probably saw last night with J.J. McCarthy versus just a simple offense, which is the Eagles, with a much more, capable quarterback and capable. Basically, it comes down to when you see the manipulation at the line of scrimmage, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes, in fact, with bad quarterbacks, it's worse if you put it on them. Basically your cannon from one play to another. So you might hear can. You might hear kill. It's two plays. One's got the weight on it as you hit the line of scrimmage. It might be a pass. It's pass run. Right. You might can it from pass to run or vice versa. That's all you're seeing. Unfortunately, you're not seeing that next level for the most part. Not always, not 100% of the time, and people get too caught up in that. But for the most part, you're just talking about canning from one to the other. Not the high level manipulation of Tom Brady or somebody like that, or Phillip Rivers or somebody like that. Can you get to that point? Well, most coaches don't want to get to that point. I don't think Nick's in that category. There's a lot of ego-driven coaches who don't want to get to that point. And they want the quarterback to run what they want. And I've said it a bunch of times. If I had a coach like that, I'd get rid of him immediately. If I had $10 billion and I bought an NFL team, I want a coach that wants a quarterback that can handle things at the line of scrimmage. Too many teams don't want that. Where are the Eagles? I think they want it. I don't think they can get there yet. Maybe they get there, maybe they don't. Right now, it is what it is. And this is the offense, and this has been the offense. And that's why it's focused on ball security and it's focused on keeping things simple, and it's focused on winning football games. And they've done it better than anybody else.
They have. What do you think of the route concepts? A lot of people talk about them too deep, nothing, not a lot of curls, not a lot of hitches, not a lot of slants, not a lot of those simple things over the middle that really do seem like they're, we're not asking for a super complex, thing here with that. What do you think of that, John? Do you think that's overblown?
Yeah. I mean, you saw it last year. Kellen has the biggest history, right? So everybody thinks because Kellen did it for years in Dallas and with the Chargers, and he was a big motion guy, and he had all the route concepts and they high volume passing teams. And he tried to evolve it when he was here, and he scaled it back to what they are and what they became. Because, as I always say, he's a good coach. That's what you do. You don't pound the square peg in the round hole and say, I want to run what we ran in Dallas, or I want to run what we ran with the Chargers because it's my scheme. You build the scheme around the players you have. And I think that's what you saw happen. They tried it early in the season, then they scaled it back at the bye week. That's what you saw happen in real time. Now this time you don't have the um, demonstrated history that Kellen Moore had. So I guess the assumption is he can't do it, Kevin Patullo. Um, they're just running what they ran with Shane and Brian and Kellen. I mean, it's the same offense. You're trying to evolve it, and it's looked ugly in the first 2 weeks. There'll be good weeks where they look like gangbusters, but it won't be a shift in philosophy. It won't be a shift in route concepts. It won't be a shift in. It'll be a shift in execution. It'll be a shift in playing better. Um, they're building the offense around the quarterback, and they've done a very, very, very good job of doing it. And they're focused on what he does well, not what you want him to do well.
Right. Well, I think that's fair, Jonathan. But there is one thing there where I would go, and I try and put myself inside the Eagles' shoes or inside Nick Sirianni's shoes, and I'm not going to do that perfectly. Obviously, I can only speak from my perspective. But there's two things, John, that you always tell me that are actual stats that the Eagles care about. Passing yards is not one of them. Passing attempts is not one of them. Okay, it's the turnover ratio or the turnover differential, and it's explosive play battle. Well, it does feel like through the first 2 weeks they are pretty low in the explosive plays, right?
Yeah,
Devontae
they
Smith
haven't,
only had one, and I think the Eagles will try and correct that, right? I mean, I think they actually care about that part of it. Maybe that's partly because Saquon hasn't really had a big breakaway run like we got so used to seeing last year. But how do you think they'll manage that part of it? Because I do think the Eagles care about that. They might not care about the passing yards, but they care about that.
Oh yeah, they definitely care about that, and they haven't they lost the explosive play battle yesterday. So their idea is if you win both, they won the turnover battle and they won the game. But if you win both, the numbers are like 94, 95% that you're going to win the football game. So their goal is to win both, and they haven't been winning the explosive play battle. They certainly didn't win it. I mentioned they had one play of over 13 yards yesterday offensively. Now they scaled a little bit differently. I think they consider it's a little bit lower. I think it's 13 for runs, and I think it's 14. I think it's 15 for passing. Most people have it at 20 and 15, but I think they're a little bit lower. But it doesn't matter. The point is that it's not enough. Um, and yeah, that's been an issue. Um, and it has to get better. It has to get better. But even stuff like that, like the 49-yard pass to Thornton, which is a blown coverage, basically. All right, it's 20-10. it gave them a chance to technically, but they had no timeouts, and it didn't really matter that much. But even so, they had a 23-yard play, there's a 22-yarder, 21-yarder, 18. Many pretty significantly won the explosive play battle. But and if they didn't turn it over, they probably win the game with Travis Kelce. If he catches that football, probably win the game.
Much different outcome, no doubt.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the two statistics the Eagles care about and believe really translate to winning and losing.
Which
And
maybe is
they haven't
part of
been
the
good
reason
enough.
they've become so conservative also on offense, John, which, they've proven to be
Well,
right.
and also they lean too much on the idea that they're going to get explosives from the run games because of what they did last year. And they had so many explosives in the run game with Saquon having the historic season. And we all said you probably can't count on that again. I think the Eagles have said it, privately mostly, but they haven't gotten to the point where they can overcome the lack of explosives in the run game compared to last year.
Right.
And how do you do it? Well, against Dallas, a lot of it was off schedule with Jalen, moving the chains. Kansas City was a slog, but they won the game. So, that's a positive. You're struggling. I think, maybe that was Nick Sirianni's best quote. I'm going to try to pull it up after the game. Was he was talking about how everybody assumes, because you won the Super Bowl. We've talked about this, and Tom, by the way, talked about it on the broadcast. I heard him talking about it. Said the same thing. You're not defending anything. Last year's team is last year's team. You're the champions. You go down in history, but you're not the same team because of the turnover in the NFL. This should all be obvious to people. And, basically, Nick was talking about last season. When you come off the season like we came off last year, I think the expectation is you're going to pick up right where you left off. There's steps to this. There's steps from all the teams that you're playing right now. There's steps to get better. So as you're getting better, our goal is to play the best football by the end of the year. But as you're getting better, find ways to win. They're not the same team. They're not the group that blew this team off the field in February. Kansas City's not the same team. We've talked about all the movement, all the new players, all this. So the assumption they're just going to pick up where they left off was always a logical fallacy. I mean, that just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, right.
But do they get better, and are they playing their best football at the right time? That's the goal. And when you're working through the hiccups to get there, it's pretty cool that you could win games instead of lose them. And I think that's where the Eagles are.
John, how would you grade Kevin Patullo through the first 2 weeks? C, B?
Yeah,
A,
I mean,
where are you?
No, I would put it right smack at a C. I mean, it's not good enough. Obviously, it's not good enough, but I think that, he's inherited unrealistic expectations. But I mean, he knows what the job is. He knows he's going to get shit. And it's not acceptable. What's going on in the passing game? We said this a bunch of weeks last year. And they'll get better. I mean, part of it is just the personality of the game, as I mentioned, when we're talking about games have personalities all the time. And Jim Schwartz taught me this. I mean, look, Dallas and the Giants, they were in a shootout. It's just the way it just, if you think about Super Bowl 52 shootout, Jim still hates that game, and they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because the defense is giving up 505 yards. It's a shootout. And there are other games, and yesterday was the opposite. It was a grinded out. Neither team was good offensively. Neither team was good in the passing game. If you take away I don't know if you can hear that, but I apologize. I got car alarms going off. But
No, you're good.
if so, if you take away that big play to Thornton at the end of the game, Kansas City's passing numbers look atrocious. And what does that really matter? You know? So, Patrick Mahomes threw for 187 yards, and that was a 50-yard gain. It was 49 yards. So you take that away, and he's at 137. Like, that's a disaster. Like, this is the least statistical sport there is, and everybody's obsessed with statistics.
know.
It just drives me insane.
Well, John, that is where fantasy football and all that shit does come into play. I mean, it's stupid.
I would tell you a story, the true story, like when I famously, not famously because I'm not famous, but for the people that know me, I have never played fantasy football once in my life. And it all harkens back to the genesis of fantasy football. And it was the Cowboys when the Cowboys were really good, at least when it came to the forefront of my mind. The Cowboys were really good. They had the best team in football by far. Troy Aikman, though, was never a volume passing guy compared to other guys. He was, they were run first. They were Emmitt Smith. But, when he made plays, he made plays. He was one of the best quarterbacks in football. Obviously, he's in the Hall of Fame. And people, oh, he stinks because he doesn't throw. And I'm like, I don't want involved in these discussions. I don't want any part of these discussions. If you can't see Troy Aikman's good at his job, like, I can't help you. I say it all the time. There are certain things people say, and it's like, look, if you don't understand why you're wrong, I can't help you.
Right.
It's a waste of time. It is the least statistical sport there is. Baseball, the exact opposite. Baseball, you play this large, massive sample size, 162 games. The numbers tell the story. You are what you are. You are what the back of your baseball card says what you are in baseball because the sample sizes are humongous. In football, they're minute.
Right.
And they shift greatly on one play. Bang, if you get an 80-yard pass play, if you get a 75-yard run, how many times we talk about running backs who have 130 yards and 75-yard run is one of them, and then they had 20 carries for 60 yards. But it looks good at the end of the day. It is the least statistical sport there is, and everybody's obsessed with statistics.
Yeah, it's so true. It's such a good explanation by you, John. One thing I'll say here, and we're in the last couple minutes of the show now, but I think this is something to look out for. An honest conversation. Again, we're not sounding the alarm at all. We're talking about the context of the game here. I think we have to evolve, John, because, and maybe this is obvious, maybe the Chiefs and the Cowboys, in a way, put out kind of a good blueprint on how to handle the Eagles offense, right? I mean, Saquon Barkley had 22 carries for 88 yards yesterday. That's good for 4 yards a carry. I think he had even less than that in the opener. You've held Devontae Smith and AJ Brown to under 100 yards each through 2 games to start the season. I'm sure other teams coming against the Eagles in coming weeks will try and use that defensive game plan that those two teams, or at least a combination.
Yeah, I don't think they were similar at all. Dallas, basically.
No, but they put enough on tape to show, hey, this is what you can do to manage this team.
Well, the problem is Dallas zoned them up and stopped them. And, Steve is blitzing from the buses and stopped them.
Right.
So, pick your poison, but they'll get better. I mean, to give you an example, the Eagles had 216 total yards. 216 total yards. Fourth fewest by a winning NFL team since 2000 in this century. Like, it's not a formula to win, generally, obviously. and it can't continue. But the fact that you can win a game like that speaks volumes that you can win games in a host of different ways, that anybody who's watched this team knows that. They can beat you in a shootout, they can beat you in the grind it out. That's the brilliance of what's going on in this Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts era. They can win 90 different ways. They can win on a Jake Elliott 58-yard field goal. They can win on special teams with a punt, with punt coverage. They can win every single way, upward, down, back, and forward. My only issue with this team, really, only issue with this team is they don't seem deterred by increasing that margin of error that I always talk about. Like, you're living on the edge. CD Lamb catches a football, you lose. Travis Kelce catches a football, you potentially lose. They might have come back, but you potentially lose. They're living on the edge. I brought this up in the Rams playoff game.
Yeah,
You're
right.
living on the edge. You're too talented to live on the edge. They didn't live on the edge in the championship game and the Super Bowl.
Right.
That's what they're capable of.
Exactly. That's the crazy thought, that what they're capable of is as good as those games looked.
And too often I think they dismiss living on the edge because they keep winning. They keep winning and winning and winning and winning and winning. And one of these times, I can't tell you one because I joke they're never going to lose again, but they will. One of these times, the ball is going to bounce the other way. And people are going to have that jaw drop feeling like, oh my God, it can happen. One of these times, the ball is going to bounce the other way. And that's going to be a wake up call, not only, I think, for the fan base, but to a certain degree, the Eagles as well.
We'll see how it all shakes out. Johnny Mac, good stuff. Great show today, brother. We broke it down pretty well. All right, the sky is not falling, everybody, and the Eagles are
2-0. How could the sky be falling? It's Victory Monday.
Yeah. Well, it's also Overreaction Monday, and you're seeing a lot of that. So I'm happy we were able to add the context that we were able to do. John, your final thoughts here on this Monday edition of Birds 365.
Well, definitely Chicken Little is not outside. The sky is not falling. So, yeah, I think, but I'm interested this week because I think the Rams are a good team. Not a great team, but I think they're a good team. I think this will be a good test. I think they have to play better. They have to play a different style to beat this team. And I think that'll be good for them because there'll be more urgency to fix some of the issues that maybe you said, well, you come into this week and saying they're up against it from a talent standpoint. I think there'll be more urgency to get things sharpened up this week.
Yep, me too. Johnny Mac, great show, brother. I will talk to you tomorrow on a Tuesday day. Wait, real quick. What's the agenda today? The Eagles are off, but you get to talk to Nick, right?
Yeah, Nick's 3:15-ish Zoom. So we'll talk to him about the same stuff he was talked to last night, basically.
Yeah, he probably won't say much of anything, as he normally never does. Let's see if you can get him off on a tangent or you can get some intel out of him, John. We'll be listening. Good stuff, my friend. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, everybody.